Pals. How are we doing today? Happy Tuesday on the Morning Night Live. I miss the baby. I want to go see the baby, but I'm so jealous. My wife's going to go after work today, and she doesn't work tomorrow, so she's going to go and hang out with my daughter and my son-in-law and get to see the baby. And I'm just like, oh, I should go. But she's just going to help, and Anyway, I've been showing people pictures all over the place because I should, because like a good grandpa, and it's all fun and games when you have a new baby in the house. So, well, it's not in the house because they don't live with us. In fact, they live about 20 miles away, but it's not too far to go see them. But it's far enough that you don't have to babysit every time they ask you. Although I don't know if that's possible because it's going to happen anyway. So anyway. It's Tuesday. Often I was going to make these Twitter Tuesdays or TikTok Tuesdays, but today I just got to get caught up in stories. I spent a lot of time on the swimmer yesterday. And the swimmer, did you hear about this though? There's a 30-year official in, I think NCAA in the swimming division or whatever that has resigned in protest over this weird thing going on with the swimmer. And, because, and I guess I don't have any of the video, but apparently there was a video on interview on Fox News or something like that, where she made a great point. Swimming and sports are not divided by the new definition of gender. It's not divided by psychology or your self, self-determined, plethora of genders. Sports are divided by bodies, by physiology. And that's the purpose of dividing sports. Otherwise, there wouldn't be no reason. Then if you say, okay, well, let's not divide by physiology, well, then let's just not have divisions for men and women, because it's about physiology, not your what's in your mind. It's what your body is. And so she did the principled stand, 30 years in the governing body, I think, for NCAA swimming, and she quit. So good for her. I mean, that's taking a stand. It's funny because I don't know if y'all still watch The Amazing Lucas. I do. I find Lucas fascinating, and I think he's a smart guy, and sometimes I agree with him, sometimes I don't, but he's kind of been trolling people about this, saying, well, women should just get better. But then he also applauded this person in the NCAA who took a stand on this. And so anyway, I'm not going to talk about her, him, it, she, them, they, whatever. I don't even know, because here's the thing. Since I don't know the swimmer's pronouns, the swimmer hasn't told me what the swimmer's pronouns is, I don't care. I'm going to use whatever freaking pronouns I can and will and want to. And there you go. So whatever. So anyway, the show today featuring the great democracy that we're going to defend, that we're defending in Ukraine, I guess. And a whole plethora of other news, but we'll do that right after the intro. Johnny, play the intro, please. Ladies and gentlemen, coming to you live from the Lucky Dog studio in a hidden location somewhere in the upper Midwest of the United States of America, it's a brother making his own way, but with all the wrong opinions. Welcome to the Morning Night Live with your host, yours truly, PDawg Knight. All right, stop the music. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Morning Night Live. I'm your host, Marty, also known as PDawgKnight on the internet, and welcome back to the Dawg Knight Channel. It's Tuesday, the 22nd of March, 2022, 3/22/22, and I'm glad you're here with me today. I'm glad I'm here with me today, and I appreciate you all joining us today. And if you like what we do today, hit the like button and all that stuff that we ask you to do every day. Share the stream. Share the stream. Project 10,000's coming up. but anyone who wants to can get started early. Want to blow up the channel. I'm going to find a way. I am going to find a way to blow up the channel. We'll see how that goes. But at Project 10,000 before my 1,000th episode. So I got 200 episodes to hit 10,000. That's what Project 10,000 is going to be. By my 1,000th episode, I'd like to have 10,000 subscribers, and we'll figure out a way. I'm coming up with a plan. I don't know. We'll figure it out, but somehow we're going to get there. So anyway, welcome. I'm going to say good morning to everybody, and then we'll get it started because I got a lot to go through, and we'll get through a lot. And I have been neglecting a lot of other news in favor of single topics. Well, today, that is not the case. I'm hopefully get through 5 or 6 different topics and a multitude of links for you to peruse when the show is over. So there you go. First in chat today, though, is our friend Advocates Diabli, who gets the bell. And that bell was really quiet. Holy smokes, what happened to my volume? Let's try that again. Hey, there we go. Thank you for being here, sir, as always. Good morning also to Tyre Alexander, Mike Savage, Blarg, Rotten Corpses in the house. Also, good morning to Tyler F. Keeverdam, welcome back. And also Somnambul Nation, Data Wasteland, Maddie's in the house. Also, good morning to Chicago Mike, K-Shull, and Dogfather76, who says LFG, which I'm not sure what that stands for, but I'm glad you're here. Anyway, as people roll in, LFG Dang Dang. I'm not sure what Dang Dang is either. But anyway, I'm glad y'all are here. And we'll see if more people roll in. I'm sure the notifications go. Oh, did I even tweet this? I didn't. Did I even tweet the show? I didn't. What a moron. All right, let me just fix this real quick. I'm going to copy that. We'll put it on Twitter and multitude of other social media sites, even though I don't know if I get any traffic from any of these other social media sites. But I'm still going to use it because if any of you ever find yourself in the position of the Babylon Bee who found themselves on the outs on Twitter for at least temporarily. They're back on, by the way. You can always follow me on other social media sites if you're into that. I'm at PDawgKnight everywhere you go, except for I am not on Truth Social. And I've kind of made it a decision. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. I made a decision. I don't think I'm going to go on Truth Social because I'm not finding, I don't know that, I think it's just, I think my reasoning is, I think it's a marketing thing more than anything else. I'm getting like, when, and I don't even know if it's even functioning yet. Is anyone here on Truth Social? That'd be a good question to ask. And I may change my mind, but for now, when I started getting marketing emails from the RNC to be on Truth Social, that's kind of where I had to draw the line. A lot of these are, and because I get so many freaking emails. In fact, I got to take myself off of some of these lists because for whatever reason, I just get tons of emails from Donald Trump and from the DNs or the RNC and all these other places. I'm like, what the hell's going on here? Did that not? How did this turn out today? Hang on a second. Let me look. I'm sorry. I'm doing this, trying to do this as I talk. Oh, apparently for whatever reason, there's no thumbnail on this one. Okay, that's weird. Okay, well, to hell with this. Let me check the edit here. Did my thumbnail not go through? There it is. Okay, well, whatever. Anyway, we're talking about democracy today, at least for a moment. Let's see. Banned from Twitter for 2 years now. Oh, you're banned. Well, I am okay. So other social media sites that I'm on, I do notifications on Gab, Minds, CloudHub, Parler, and Getter. No Truth Social though. Hello, Zach to the Future and Jada Clay. He was on Parler until Amazon destroyed that. Now Parler's back up. Parler's all good now. They're in. Oh, in fact, I do. In fact, I got the. Let's see. Let me check here. I thought I threw it on my phone for some reason. Oh, I don't know what this is. Let's just burn that away. Let's check here. I think I got, do I have Parler on my phone? Which one? I have mine's. I thought I had Parler on here. Oh, no, I have Rumble on my phone. Anyway, Parler's still fine on desktop. But anyway, so I wanted to bring up democracy because, you know, if you go on any social media sites right now, even if you're, you know, on Facebook or Twitter or whatever, there seems to be this weird idea that defending Ukraine is defending democracy, right? And look, I'm of that mindset that right now, this conflict and this war, this battle, this siege that Russia's doing in Ukraine is a terrible thing. And yet, I don't know that it is really, I don't know if it's really, there's a good side on that, in that conflict. Clearly the people that you worry about are the Ukrainian people, right? And holy shit, what's all the notifications here? Good God. Oh, okay. Well, some of you just tweeting out the show. Thank you, Somnambule Nation. Thank you, Maddie. In fact, I'll leave it. And Kivernam and Mitch the Ripper, and for all of you. What is this? Someone's answering a question here. Oh, oh Lord. Someone so I titled the stream as Defending Democracy, right? And someone just types no. maybe you're have them join me. They didn't like that I wrote calling. Well, maybe it might be. I got to tell you, if you read my titles, sometimes it might be a head fake. Anyway, so the blue checks on Twitter and all over are, and the pundits and all the freaking the CNN and even the CNN and Fox News and MSNBC, everyone's on board with the Ukrainian flags. I was driving down one of our main thoroughfares, and I was going past this building, right? And I look up, and you know they usually have the American flag up there, and they have the company flag up there, and they got another flag up there. And I looked up there yesterday, and lo and behold, on one of their 3 flagpoles, they had, well, the American flag was still there in the middle, and they had some, I don't know what the other flag over there, some white flag with some words on it, and on the outside the left flagpole. And on the right flagpole, they had a big old giant Ukrainian flag. And I'm thinking to myself, does this company have locations in Ukraine? Are they partly owned by some Ukrainian businessman? Why does this company in the middle of the Twin Cities, Minnesota, have a Ukrainian flag flying on one of their flagpoles? And it's because everyone's like, oh, you have to defend Ukraine. Ukraine is this, that, and this. And I got the idea that maybe one of the reasons Democrats are really gung-ho about Ukraine is because they've been sold this idea that there was Russian interference in the 2016 election, and Putin puppet Trump and this and blah blah blah, Putin blah blah blah, but they've been saying for 6 years. So this is their way to be against Putin, right? And as far as the people on the right who are some of these, well, a lot of the neocons. You're not supposed to say neocon because that's supposed to have some religious intonation to it, but there's lots of neocons that have nothing to do with religion. But anyway, and a lot of these normal, the warmongering type on the right that are just, oh, this is a chance to sell some weapons, is to go to war, and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, no, and they're all using they're all using, well, you're defending democracy. Ukraine is a democracy because we have, remember they had this government back in, I don't know if it was 2014, but when they were Russian, friendly, and then somehow the United States pushed them into getting rid of the Russian-friendly democracy, and it became an American-friendly democracy. And then, but the American defending democracy allowed the Russians to go in there and take over Crimea. Of course, that was right after they discovered that oil in Crimea. And there's all these, there was a big oil deal. And then the Russians went and took over Crimea because they found all this oil there. But it's weird because that was around the same time that the Americans' vice president had a son who was kind of an executive in a Russian oil company, and that's weird. And then there's so we started to, Joe Biden went into Obama's office and was adamant about, hey, we need to defend Ukraine, and well, Ukraine, what the fuck about Ukraine? But so that democracy was more American friendly, and then now the Russians are going in there trying to install a more Russian friendly democracy again. Well, what's funny is this democracy that we're talking about. Well, and now I'm gonna go. I'm not really a big fan of Paul Joseph Watson, but he kind of makes it a point here. Oh, this is a video. Well, okay, so here's what the Ukrainian democracy is doing. The head of this democracy, the President Zelensky, has banned all the 11 opposition parties. I'm not going to use. I'm curious what he says here. I didn't watch this. I just opened it up. But he's banned. He's banned opposition parties in a democracy. Interesting. Didn't know you could do that. The only known religious ones are in the evangelical accounts. Good morning, Renee Mayette, by the way, and Aaron Meredith, and anyone else who's jumped in. So I'm confused. Is that can you, if you ban opposition parties, is that a democracy? Let's see what Paul. I'm like I said, I'm not a fan of Paul Joseph Watson, but I'm curious as to what this video is, because he says this is a strange form of democracy, and so let's see what Paul Joseph Watson has to say, and we'll go from there.
President Zelensky's leadership of Ukraine's resistance is a testament to democracy. Zelensky and Biden, defenders of democracy.
Yeah.
One of Ukraine's priorities is to uphold the values of freedom and democracy. Ukraine
yes.
may be the first example in human history.
David Frum, yes, there's one of those guys. That's who I'm talking about. When I'm talking about because remember, David Frum, wasn't he the advisor to President Bush? By the way, I do have my cup of reparations coffee here, and it's delicious. Isn't David Frum one of those war-friendly Republicans that just, I don't know, is he even still a Republican? I don't even know. Anyway, Ukraine may be the first example in human history of a country that under the pressure of war is becoming more tolerant, more liberal. Oh, yeah, by banning any alternative policies. I don't know about that. And remember the New York Times described this as one of the most corrupt countries in the world. I didn't see the exchange, but apparently there's an exchange between Candace Owens and the New York Times. Maybe we can find that while we're working today. But anyway, here we go.
Of a country that under the pressure of war is becoming more tolerant and more liberal, really. Now, forgive me if I'm mistaken, but last time I checked, banning virtually every opposition party in Parliament and imposing martial law to impose a total takeover of the media doesn't sound very democratic.
Yes, see, that's what I'm talking about. When they banned the opposition parties. Now, this guy, I mean, he's an odd bird. I'm not necessarily a fan of him, but this is something that, and he's not, I don't think he's bad. I have a weird, his affect, it really doesn't meld with what I normally do. But I gotta tell you, please tell me he's being sarcastic. Yes, I think he is. Who, me? Oh, I mean, hell, the U.S. is not all that far from being an oligarchy either, for that matter. Well, this is true. This is true. Ukraine is an oligarchy. They're not all that much different from Russia. They basically still function as they did under Russia. They just booted out the Soviet Ukraine party. Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. But we're like, oh my goodness, we're like, oh, we're defending democracy.
Yes, the valiant, virtuous defender of democracy has moved to ensure that absolutely no one is allowed to criticize him. A necessary evil in a time of war, a fight for survival. Maybe, but proof that Zelensky, under the pressure of war, is becoming more tolerant. Hardly. Zelensky even extended the ban to the opposition party Platform for Life, which holds 44 out of 450 seats in the country's parliament.
Platform? Oh, yeah, for life. Is that the party, or is that he banned them for life? Like he banned them for life in a democracy? I'm confused.
He also banned a bunch of left-wing and progressive parties. In announcing the ban, Zelensky said it was to ensure no individual or party could put their interests above the interests of the...
Okay, let me see this. Restricted parties include Opposition Bloc, Party of Sharia, Ours Left Opposition, Union of Left Forces, State, Progressive Socialist Party of Ukraine, Socialist Party of Ukraine, Socialist and Vladimir Saldo Bloc. Okay. Interesting.
It's kind of like what's happening in Russia. It's okay when we do it. He's also invoked martial law to impose a complete ban on all privately owned media outlets in Ukraine.
Oh, that's right. So he also he consolidated all the state media and then banned all private media so that you can only get one message from the government. Now that doesn't sound like I'm just saying, it doesn't sound like a liberal democracy. Like in this country, you know, if people were protesting a war, for example, well, they're allowed to protest a war. Now, you know, it's not always pretty in this country, American state, but you know, I'm just saying, it's the idea that some of these people are saying we're defending democracy. Like, yeah, well, but you know, it's funny though. You know, it's really funny. I can't say this really loud, but you know, a lot of the people on the leftist type peoples, they kind of like this whole dictatorship thing. But anyway, I'm just saying they like authoritarian countries. But whatever.
Ukraine. All of them will be forced to merge into one.
I always wonder too, when Paul Joseph Watson does videos, I'm always curious that he always looks at the camera like this, like he's looking kind of down. You never notice he kind of looks like this. See, watch. I'm gonna put him back on here. Why does he? I don't know why he does this. He looks like that. Notice. Anyway, I don't know why, but anyway. He's making sense, though. Good morning, Zablé.
Propaganda unit. But wait, CNN told me state propaganda TV stations like RT were bad. It's okay when we do it. It's to ensure that the country has a, quote, unified information policy. In other words, a country in which objectivity is forbidden. Just like Russia. So no opposition...
Oh, well, kind of just like the United States. Well, I guess they allow the opposition as long as they have their own sites and their own payment processing places and their own... You have to build your own, as long as Google and Amazon and Apple allow you to put their apps on their sites. Anyway, yeah.
Parties in parliament and no functioning impartial media. No one domestically to question whether Zelensky should be lobbying for a no-fly zone that would cause nuclear Armageddon.
Yeah, what's with the... okay, no-fly zone anyway.
No one to suggest that him saying Ukraine not getting everything they want out of peace talks will lead to World War III is maybe a reckless use of rhetoric. No one to offer a whimper of dissent. Strange form of democracy, that, isn't it?
I'm just... there you go. Well done. You know, I guess I haven't watched Paul Joseph Watson in a while, but I concur. Anyway, good morning, Straight Sith Mail. Wait, Paul Joseph Watson is 6'4"? You're joking. That's weird. That's weird, because I'm 6'4", and I always pictured Paul Joseph Watson as being like 5'7" or 5'8", just barely. I always pictured him as barely taller than Ben Shapiro. I don't know why. I've never understood it. Anyway, So, yes, we're defending democracy. And look, fuck the Russians. The leadership in Russia. You know, it's also weird. It's really kind of bugging me. So, all this, there's a lot of anti-Russian rhetoric going around. For example, there was, I don't know, it was a congressman or senator or something said something about all we need more is dead Russians and, shit like that. And I'm thinking to myself, there are a lot of Russian immigrants in the United States. In fact, there's a lady there's a restaurant down the road, Nina. She used to call her restaurant Russian Tavern. And then I think she changed it to Nina's. But I think, are we going to start having, in the United States, people, well, I know there's already people harassing Russians in the United States. And is anyone going to come to their defense? Because, the xenophobia that we've been creating, especially over the last 6 years regarding Russia. Can you imagine how much xenophobia there is amongst the left after 6 years of Putin puppet rhetoric? I'm just think it's odd. Anyway, all right, let's move on to some more news though, because there's a lot of news that we got to get to. U.S. ambassador to the United Nations says that no U.S. troops will join the proposed Ukraine peacekeeping mission. Oh, there's going to be a proposed peacekeeping mission. There's a proposed peacekeeping mission from the United Nations. Interesting. Ahead of the extraordinary NATO summit, where Poland is expected to propose a peacekeeping operation in Ukraine, U.S. Ambassador to the UN, Linda Thomas Greenfield, said Sunday the U.S. would not provide troops for any such mission. I can't preview what decisions will be made at this NATO conference and how NATO will respond to the Polish proposal, Thomas Greenfield told CNN's News State of the Union. Let's hear her own words.
So President Biden is traveling to an emergency NATO summit on Thursday. Poland says that they're going to formally submit a proposal to NATO for a NATO peacekeeping mission to Ukraine. What might that look like? Would the U.S. support sending NATO peacekeepers into Ukraine?
First of all,
Jake, the president has been very clear that we will not put American troops on the ground in Ukraine. We don't want to escalate this into a war with the United States. I can't preview what decisions will be made at this NATO conference and how NATO will respond to the Polish proposal. What I can say is American troops will not be on the ground in Ukraine at this moment. The president has been clear on that, and other NATO countries may decide that they want to put troops inside of Ukraine. That will be a decision that they have to make.
Okay, I'm confused. I'm a little confused about that, because if this is a NATO conference, right, and NATO puts peacekeeping troops into Ukraine, don't peacekeeping troops, Avocado said this, Avocado, that's how she said there, doesn't there need to be peace to keep peace? Yeah, if you put troops into Ukraine while the Russians are attacking them, aren't you putting, if they're NATO troops, remember NATO, the North American treaty alliance or whatever, and we're a part of NATO, don't we have an obligation to support NATO? Oh boy. That's part of the deal, isn't it? Supporting NATO. Now, let's see. Poland is the NATO ally most severely impacted by President Vladimir Putin's invasion of Ukraine, having taken in more than 2 million of the 3.3 million Ukrainians who have fled the country since the war began. After being stung by the Pentagon's rejection of a proposal to send its MiG-29 fighters to a U.S. base in Germany for transfer to Ukraine, Poland is stressing that keeping peacekeeping stressing that the peacekeeping proposal is one for the alliance as a whole to decide upon. So, again, this is the article I'm reading from, which will be in the link. By the way, every article we go through today will be in a link in the description below at the end of the show. And Russians has already threatened Poland not to get involved anymore. See, if we'd have taken those MiG fighters, for example, okay, if we'd have taken those MiG fighters from Poland, right? Because Poland has an interest in getting rid of those MiG fighters for two reasons. One, because they're old equipment. There was going to be, I think there was, I don't know the details, so I may get some of this wrong, and if you know better than I do, great. But there was already a deal for Poland to transfer those MiG fighters to us, because we've got our share of Russian legacy equipment that we have just somehow acquired. But anyway, they were going to give us those MiG fighters, and we were going to sell them. I think F-14s, not the most updated, but more updated materials, right? Well, the Polish, if they can dump those MiG fighters off on us and then we give them to Ukraine, then they're not giving the Ukraine, and the Russians can't say, well, they're providing Ukraine with weapons that would cause that to escalate into Poland, right? But then if we give them, the more equipment we give to Ukraine, aren't we just fighting a proxy war with using Ukraine? I don't know. So anyway, they wanted to trade up that kind of stuff. Exactly. Because they wanted more updated fighters from the U.S. And so there's, yes, they want to help Ukraine. Otherwise, why didn't they just send the fighters directly to Ukraine? Well, because they could quicken the deal to give those fighters to us, and then we sell them even more modern fighters. It's weird how this all is put together. But anyway, and President Biden, I always call him President Pudding Brain, but now that I know he's leaving the country, I will refer to him as President Biden, because when your American head of state is on foreign soil or on their way to foreign soil, you should give them at least the respect of calling them by their name instead of President Pudding Brain. So, although he hasn't left yet, so I'm confused too about his trip to Poland. Again, this is a NATO emergency meeting, I guess, right? And but I'm not so sure, because remember, the vice president was just there, and of course she certainly had an impactful visit with the Polish president, which is, I always, diplomatically, remember because she said some stupid shit in front of with the Polish president and did her stupid cackle laugh that she always does, and I always find it weird, especially now, because they're sending her a lot of places, and she's on podiums with like presidents of other places, and from a diplomatic standpoint, that's not really a good look. I mean, normally you would have the equals from the equal head of state at podiums together, and usually don't see the vice president take the place of the head of state, which would be the president, especially when it's the head of state of the other country. So when she was on the podium with the president from Poland, maybe that should have been a secondary entity rather than the Polish president. But now President Pudding Brain is going to go over there. I'm sorry, President Biden's going to go over there with other NATO heads of state as they meet. Oh boy, I don't know. Yeah. Oh, F-16s they're trying to sell to Poland. I thought they were the F-14s, the older model F-14s. But anyway, so now the president's going to be over there. President's traveling to Brussels for this special NATO meeting on Thursday. On Sunday, the White House announced in addition to his itinerary, a stop in Warsaw on Friday for talks with President Andrzej Duda. So anyway, all right, I'm going to move on because I got a lot of things to get through. Now, here's an interesting article, because remember, anyone who doesn't fully support the narrative of us needing to stand with Ukraine, right? Stand with Ukraine. That's the mantra. There's Ukrainian flags on buildings within a mile of my house. Going, why are Ukrainian flags? And all the, a lot of blue check marks have little Ukrainian flags in their bios right now, and whatever. Stand with Ukraine. That's the sign, right? And if you don't stand with Ukraine, you are not a good American, apparently, or you're on the side of Russia. Well, this is interesting. President Putin has some unlikely allies in the United States Congress. Ladies and gentlemen, the Squad. Everyone knows that the Squad Good morning, Random American, by the way. The Squad in the House of Representatives is so far to the left as to make Stalin look like John Bircher. But would they go so far as cheerlead for a former KGB's man's war of aggression? Well, it looks like the answer might be yes. The Democrats, Stephen Cruz observed on February 21st, were lurching leftward long before the arrival of AOC and her gang. What they've done, though, is help drag the party so far to the lunatic fringe left that whatever passes for center with them these days is probably somewhere in Cuba or say Moscow. Putin, after all, has called the fall of the Soviet Union a tragedy for most citizens and said it was the greatest geopolitical disaster of the 20th century. Well, in October 2020, Putin praised the Democratic Party for being traditionally closer to the so-called liberal values, closer to social democratic ideas if compared to Europe. And it was from the social democratic environment that the Communist Party evolved. He went on to reveal, I still like many of these left-wing values, equality and fraternity. What is bad about them? In fact, they are akin to Christian values. Yes, they are difficult to implement, but they are very attractive nevertheless. Well, what's good for a squad member? What's good for a squad member not to like and all that, except maybe the reference to the detested Christian values. And so the New York Post reported Saturday that comrades in the Squad have bent over backwards in the House of Representatives to defend Vladimir Putin, voting against sanctions on Russia's oil, parroting Kremlin talking points. Now that parroting Russian talking points, that comes up a lot. Anytime you say something that is not 100% in support of democracy in Ukraine, you get accused of giving Russian talking points. Well, yeah, now he gets a chance to say that about them. For at least one of the far-left Squad members, the winsome and patriotic Representative Ilhan Omar, Democrat from Mogadishu. I hate when they do this to me. From Minneapolis, thank you. This may represent a hard-headed business decision. Omar has family with business interests in Russia and its oil industry. Omar's father, Nur Omar Mohammed, was a colonel in the Somali army during the 70s and 80s under the Soviet-backed regime of dictator Siad Barre. During that time, he received a military education in the Soviet Union, according to an obituary. But that's not all. Omar's brother-in-law, Mohammed Kenyan, served as a government spokesman and then later as a chief of staff to former Somalian Prime Minister Hassan Kari. Kari is known in the West, for all but giving the country's oil reserves to Putin, according to news reports. Well, then why not Ukraine? To be sure, Ilhan Omar did condemn the Russian invasion of Ukraine, but still came out against sanctions, explaining, I don't support broad-based sanctions on any country. They are economic warfare, and we should all oppose them like we oppose military actions. Also, as humans who are interconnected to other humans globally, we will directly or indirectly be impacted by it. Well, sure, especially those of us who have family members involved with Russia's oil industry. She and Representative Cori Bush, Democrat race baiting, were the only two Democrats in the House who voted against sanctions on Russian oil. Well, doesn't sanctions on Russian oil help save the planet? I don't know. Anyway, but Omar's not among. I already said that. But Omar is not alone among squad members in wanting to go easy on Putin. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Democrat Ditsville, tweeted and then deleted a call to avoid sanctions because they would hurt the Ukrainian people. The Post pointed out that this stance echoed Russia's own propaganda network, RT, which blared in February that anti-Russian sanctions are a threat to Ukraine too. But the squad's concern about sanctions hurting regular working people is selective and inconsistent. The Post notes that the concern for sanctions on ordinary citizens does not extend to the boycott, divestment, and sanctions campaign against Israel, which all squad members either openly support or have expressed sympathy towards. Of course they have. The squad's line may come from a higher power. All four women are closely aligned with the Democratic Socialists of America, which has stood steadfastly with Russia during the conflict and blamed the war on U.S. imperialism. None have moved to distance themselves from that organization's stance. So anyway, now I don't know if that really means that they're all on Putin's side, but you know, as often as I see people who aren't 100% pro-Ukrainian in this, or even if they're neutral like myself, they get accused on social media of being Russian propaganda. So let it flow, let it flow. Let it flow. Anyway, yes, apparently it was okay to give Russia 1/3 of our uranium. Exactly there, Jeffrey Russell Jr. All right. And then I don't know if any of you caught this about something that President Putin said the other day. This is fascinating. You may have already heard about this. But he said the quiet part out loud, and that's what this article is about in the American Thinker. So I sort of sympathize. This is from Thomas Lifson, who sympathizes with the puppet masters using Joe Biden as their front man in the Oval Office. He doesn't know his limitations. He's headstrong and he's garrulous, so he is prone to spilling the beans when he's been briefed about the plans for the schemes they are implementing. This happened Monday when he made a brief speech to the Business Roundtable, a group of powerful executives, just the sort of people Biden loves to schmooze and, he thinks, impress. Towards the end, Addis's voice and demeanor were weakening, as they often are when he speaks for more than 10 minutes. He blurted out the real agenda. Ryan Savager of the Daily Wire spotted the classic Kinsey gaffe, actually telling the truth. You see, the invasion of Ukraine is a great excuse to impose a new world order. Do they have I want the quote. I think I have the actual video, don't I? Let me see if I have the video of him saying this. No, that's not him. Anyway, here's the quote. I think this presents us with some significant opportunities to make some real changes. You know, we are an inflection point, I believe, in the world economy, not just the world economy, in the world. Okay, so I didn't hear how he actually put this together. I'm trying to put this sentence together. I'm working on it. Thank you, Maddie. I'll get to that in just a moment. Here's what I'm gonna read this verbatim, and if you can figure it out, well, you figure it out. You know, I think we're at an inflection point. I believe in the world economy, not just in the world economy. In the world occurs every 3 or 4 generations. As one of the top military people said to me in a secure meeting the other day, 60 million people died between 1900 and 1946. And since then, we established a liberal world order. That hadn't happened in a long while. A lot of people died, but nowhere near the chaos. And now, the times when things are shifting, there's going to be a new world order out there, and we've got to lead it, and we've got to unite the rest of the free world and doing it. I always am nervous when I hear people talk about new world orders. Anyway, thank you, Maddie. And Maddie, you are the new Streamlabs Superstar sponsor of the day. Thank you very much. Dropping a deuce in the tip jar saying, quote, how do I put this? If they want to experience socialism, communism so much, may I recommend Cuba or Venezuela? I hear they are lovely this time of the year. Yes, Maddie, they are definitely lovely this time of the year, and I would love to experiment with the squad going to either of those places. All right, other news, obviously, Ketanji Brown Jackson is facing a Senate Judiciary Committee grilling as we speak, and she has yesterday, yesterday I watched some of it, and I just kind of got the gist of what was going on with this yesterday, and the few Democrats, so as you know, and this is, let me put her on the screen here. So this is Ketanji Brown Jackson. So yesterday they had the opening statements, and for whatever god-awful reason, they believe that every senator that's in the room, and I think this is just the Judiciary Committee, every senator in the room, now I can understand why Ketanji Brown Jackson would make an opening statement as far as these hearings go, but because every senator and the Judiciary Committee is a blowhard and needs to get some TV time in their hometowns, every single one of them gets to make a 5-minute opening statement, right? And so, and I'm pretty sure that every single Democrat who made an opening statement yesterday made it just the historical aspect of having a black woman being nominated to the Supreme Court. Of course, after Joe Biden said that he was going to nominate a black woman to the Supreme Court. Now, it is fantastic that we have a black woman being nominated to the Supreme Court. But the fact that each single person up there talking about the historical significance of a black woman being nominated to the Supreme Court after Joe Biden said that his first criteria for nominating someone to the Supreme Court is that they be a black woman. I don't think we should be constantly reminding Judge Ketanji Brown that she is a black woman and she was nominated to the Supreme Court because she was a black woman. Now, because look, okay, regardless of what you think of her judicial record and anything else, right? She is an accomplished attorney, lawyer, judge, Yale Law School, history of this and that, and all kinds of things, and right? And that is the only criteria that is necessary for being on the Supreme Court. The fact that she's a black woman should have had nothing to do with it, but Joe Biden said, you know what, I'm going to nominate a black woman to the Supreme Court. And so I'm fighting this whole hagiography of her, and also the just constant praise for her being a black woman, the first black woman on the Supreme Court. You'd think maybe she is sitting there going, would you motherfuckers stop talking about me being the first black woman on the Supreme Court? Because it emphasized the fact that Joe Biden made this his number one criteria. Yes, Yale could be a problem, especially now if you saw the free speech protest in Yale Law School the other day. But anyway, so Stop talking about that. Okay? That's because her being the first black woman nominated to the Supreme Court is not an accomplishment. It's just not. And you're diminishing you're diminishing her accomplishment by saying it over and over again after Joe Biden made a point to only consider black women as nominees. Stop it, you assholes. All right, Ketanji Brown will face questions from the Senate Judiciary Committee on Tuesday in a hearing that may go up to 11 hours long if all 22 senators use their maximum allowed time. What do you mean if? These blowhards love the sounds of their own voices. Anyway, Republican senators who are preparing to grill the Supreme Court nominee have said that they will not unleash on her or attack her the way Democrats attacked Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh in 2018 or any other of the Trump nominees. No Republican senator is going to unleash on you or an attack about your character when the hearing is virtually over, promised Senator Lindsey Graham, referencing how Democrats suddenly produced a letter from Kavanaugh accuser Christine Blasey Ford ahead of the Kavanaugh hearings. None of us, I hope, have been sitting on information about you as a person for weeks or months. You come into our offices and we will never share it with you to allow you. We never share it with you to allow you to give your side of the story. While we wait to the very last minute when the hearing is about to be concluded, and say, oh, by the way, I've got this letter. Senator Ted Cruz promised Jackson that the GOP would not imitate Democrat attacks. I can assure you that your hearing will feature none of that disgraceful behavior. No one is going to inquire into your teenage dating habits. No one is going to ask you with mock severity, do you like beer? But that's not to say that this hearing should be non-substantive and non-vigorous. During the first day of the hearings, Jackson vowed to defend the Constitution and decide cases from a neutral posture. That'll be interesting if that happens. I evaluate facts and I interpret and apply the law to the facts of the case before me without fear or favor, consistent with my judicial oath, she said. How long is this? This might be too long. I don't know when to watch this.
My parents taught me
here we go.
Unlike the many barriers that they had to face growing up, my path was clearer. So that if I worked hard and I believed in myself in America, I could do anything or be anything I wanted to be.
Oh my God. Did they teach her to pull herself up by her bootstraps? Because, the Democrats don't like to hear that shit, especially Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She was taught that in America, you could be anything you wanted. I like that. She had a real kind of a pro-American thing going on here. Yesterday, Hirono, House Republicans can't stop talking about how you were only nominated because you're a woman of color. I'm going to list off your accomplishment. Boy, it was Joe that said that. Ding! Yeah, it was Joe Biden who said that, not Cory Booker was just embarrassing. Had to change. Coom covered shorts after he was done talking, I'm sure. Funny watching a black man like Booker using racism of low expectations to one of his own. Well, yeah. And apparently, it doesn't matter. Anyway, here, let's see. What else do you say here?
Like so many families in this country, they worked long hours and sacrificed to provide their children every opportunity to reach their God-given potential. My parents have been...
Boy, look at Sheila Jackson Lee back here. She don't like this speech. She's like, but she's videoing with her phone. I'm not even sure that's allowed in the Congress. But anyway, she's over here videoing with her phone. She's got a mad look on her face when this woman's talking about this.
Married for almost 54 years, and they're here with me today. I cannot possibly thank them enough for everything they've done for me. I love you, Mom and Dad.
All right, there you go. Oops, there we go. So anyway, that was part of her thing. I'm sure they're talking. They're asking her tons of questions today. Now, Republican Missouri Senator Josh Hawley had raised concerns last week that Jackson's record demonstrates that she has a pattern of letting child porn offenders off the hook with their appalling crimes. man. His announcement prompted House Republicans to send a letter Monday to the leaders of the Senate Judiciary Committee calling for a full investigation of Jackson's past rulings as a judge. The letter, which was first obtained by the Daily Caller, calls on the committee to specifically look into 3 child pornography cases from when Jackson was vice chair of the U.S. Sentencing Commission. Hawley promised during his opening statements that he is not trying to trap Jackson on any gotcha questions, emphasizing that she deserves a chance to talk about her record. Here's Josh Hawley.
So here are, I hope, in the next couple of days, some of the cases.
No, we're not going to watch this. I was going to watch this, but this is
the district
court,
the federal district court that I hope that we can talk about. Let me just run through a few of them so you know exactly which ones I mean. United States versus Hawkins. This was a child pornography case where the defendant distributed multiple images of child porn, possessed dozens more, including videos. The federal sentencing guidelines recommended a sentence of 97 to 121 months in prison. Prosecutors recommended 24 months in prison. Judge Jackson gave the defendant 3 months in prison. United States versus Chazen. That case, the defendant possessed 48 files of child pornography. The federal guidelines recommended 78 to 97 months in prison. The prosecutor recommended the same. Judge Jackson sentenced him to 28 months. United States versus Cooper. There, the defendant possessed dozens of images of child pornography and distributed dozens of images of child pornography, possessed over 600. The federal guidelines recommended 151 to 188 months in prison. That's a long time. The prosecutor recommended 72 months. Judge Jackson gave the defendant 60 months, which was the lowest sentence permitted by the law. United States versus Down, that's a case where the defendant distributed 33 graphic images and videos of child sexual assault to an anonymous messaging app, unfortunately a practice that's becoming more common. The federal guidelines recommended 70 to 87 months in prison. The prosecutor recommended 70 months in prison. Judge Jackson sentenced him to only 60 months. Again, that's the lowest level that was permitted by law in that case. United States versus Stewart.
Okay, so he's gone through several cases. She'll answer that probably over the course of the thing. It is concerning, though. Why so lenient on that? I know she doesn't seem awful. Some of the judgments seem questionable, but I'm willing to hear explanations of them. Absolutely. That's where I stand on this. Let's see. Senator Marsha Blackburn. The Senate must not blindly confirm a Supreme Court justice to serve as a rubber stamp for a radical progressive agenda. There's all kinds of things. Oh, and here's Mazie Hirono. I know someone wanted to mention this. Here's Mazie Hirono.
Some of my Republican colleagues and public figures have attempted to undermine your qualifications through their pejorative use of the term affirmative action.
Yeah, no, that was Joe Biden. Like who just said that earlier? Someone said that earlier. Oh, Midnight Exile, by the way, good morning. And Jeffrey Russell, I think. And I saw the one who somewhere there. And UV, a.k.a. Unacceptable Views. Good morning to you all. Let's finish this
and they have implied you were solely nominated due to your race and not for other
factors.
No,
she was on the list solely due to her race.
That you need to show your LSAT scores.
No.
To determine whether you.
Whoa. Did she say? Who did she say said that? Because it wasn't anyone in the Senate. That was Tucker Carlson who made that quip, and I don't even know if he was serious about it.
Show your LSAT scores and not for other factors. Apparently, some have even claimed that you need
Some not any senators have, but anyway.
Show your LSAT scores to determine whether you are a top legal mind. This is incredibly offensive and condescending.
Wow. Don't you think the president of the United States saying that he would nominate only a black woman? Isn't that a little bit condescending? If he'd have just shut his trap and nominated her, then, and all these senators who are just praising her for being the first black woman, isn't that condescending? If he'd just shut his trap and nominated her, without ever saying, well, I am definitely going to nominate a black woman to the Supreme Court. Just like Kamala Harris, I'm definitely going to have a woman of color as my running mate. Or he implied that. And look what he got. He got perhaps the least prepared human being, not on the planet, but certainly and of all the people he was choosing from, whoa, did he get a doozy for a vice president. Anyway, let's finish with Maisie here.
Let me be clear. Your nomination is not about filling a quota. It
Really?
is about time.
It was about... Wait, what? About time? Wait a minute. Not about... Oh, my God. This woman's so...
Nomination is not about filling a quota. It is about time. About time that we have a highly qualified, highly accomplished black woman on the Supreme Court.
Wait a minute. Whoa. Whoa. She said, it's not about filling a quota. It's about time we had an accomplished black woman on the Supreme Court. Which is it? Which is it? Is it it's not listen to that again. It's not about filling a quota. And look, I'm sure this woman is immensely qualified to sit on the court, even if I disagree with her political and whatever social views. If she's an accomplished attorney who's been a circuit judge for 13, 15, whatever years she has been, she's fully qualified to be on the Supreme Court. I don't have any doubt about that at all. But the idea that you made it your sole number one criteria to put a black woman on the Supreme Court, that's the problem I have. I'm good for this woman. You know what? If she's approved, which whatever they call it, confirmed, and that's probably appropriate. But Maisie Hirono's sentence there.
Be clear. Your nomination is not about filling a quota. It is about time. It's about time that we have a highly qualified, highly accomplished black woman on the Supreme Court.
Really? So isn't that saying that you're filling the quota of a highly accomplished, highly qualified black woman on the Supreme Court? You just contradicted yourself. Let's see what else this dimwit says.
It's about time our highest court better reflects the country it serves. It's about time.
Are you mad that it's not an Asian person, Maisie Hirono? What do they call the Asian Pacific Islanders? APAI, something?
That black women and girls across the country can finally see themselves who look like them.
So it's a quota. It's a quota. It's a quota. It's a representative quota.
Their lives.
So it's a quota. What are you talking about? Oh my God. How do you contradict yourself in the same sentence? But anyway, again, I'm convinced. I'm not. I have no qualms about her being nominated and being confirmed, even if I disagree with her. She fills a spot that's very much. Although I got a feeling that maybe she's an ideologue as much as two of the others, right? Honestly though, when you're in the highest court in the land, I hope that the fact that you're in the highest law in the land and you realize that every decision you make impacts further decisions down the law, and basically the buck stops at the Supreme Court, right? A lot of times Supreme Court justices have to rule a little bit differently than they would as, say, a municipal judge, a circuit judge, a state judge, or whatever, because they are the ultimate law and they have to stick to the Constitution, and that's different. It may be a little bit different than when you're in the circuit. I don't know. Anyway, holy shit. Baseless charges unfair. Durbin says GOP charges that Jackson is soft on crime. I don't know. You certainly gave those sentences. But anyway, that's what's going on with her. All right. And then also, there's a couple other articles here. I won't go too deeply, but House Republicans call on the Senate Judiciary Committee to investigate Ketanji Jackson Brown's past sentences for sex offenders. Okay. And then they highlighted 3 cases there. You can read that one if you want, but we've got Josh Hawley's version of that. Dick Durbin says and this is great. This is great. So Dick Durbin says, questioning Ketanji Brown Jackson's judicial record is an unfair attack. Really? What's the criteria for being on the court? What is the ultimate criteria for being on the Supreme Court? Wouldn't that be her judicial record? Senate Judiciary Committee Chairman Dick Durbin suggested Monday that questions aimed at Supreme Court nominees Ketanji Brown Jackson's judicial record amounted to unfair attacks, referencing Josh Hawley. Really? Let's see what this is. How much is this?
Despite your record, we've heard claims that you are, quote, soft on crime.
She can address that.
These charges are unfair. A conservative National Review columnist called claims brought by one of my colleagues, quote, meritless to the point of demagoguery. They fly in the face of pledges my colleagues made that they would approach your nomination with civility and respect.
Oh, really? Dick Durbin talking about civility and respect after the Kavanaugh hearings, after who's the last one they did? The woman, all these new names in the court, I can't remember them all. The professor from Notre Dame, when the Democrats were questioning her ability to be on the court because she had children. She had children. You got to worry about the children. Dick Durbin can shut the fuck up. Anyway, you could watch the rest of that on your own time. I'm not putting that shit up here. As far as the Cruz, though, Ted Cruz slams Democrats' racist hypocrisy. If you're Hispanic or African American and you dare depart from their political orthodoxy, they will crush you. I'm sure referencing, well, here, let's Ted Cruz speak for himself.
I would note we are sitting on a committee where multiple members of this committee, the senior Democrats in the committee, happily filibustered Judge Janice Rogers Brown, a very qualified African-American woman nominated to the D.C. Circuit, and they did so precisely because they wanted to prevent Judge Brown from becoming Justice Brown, the first African-American woman. Joe Biden was among the Democrats filibustering the first African-American woman nominated to the D.C. Circuit.
Amy Coney Barrett, thank you.
The senior Democrats on this committee also filibustered Miguel Estrada. As the staff for Senator Ted Kennedy said in writing at the time, the Democrats filibustered Miguel Estrada, quote, because he is Hispanic. They were explicitly racial. If you are Hispanic or African American and you dare depart from their political orthodoxy, they will crush you, they will attack you, they will slander you, they will filibuster you. So this is not about race.
Ted Cruz, ding, right? Anyway, you can watch this whole testimony there. We're going to move on, though, because I'm running out of time, and I got 40 tabs to go, and I'm not going to get to any of them. Anyway, and then now this is the Washington Free Beacon. The Republican plan to draw blood over Biden's SCOTUS nomination. I'm not so sure about that. Senate Republicans indicated they will press Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson about Democratic efforts to pack the Supreme Court and block Republican judicial appointments during her confirmation hearings for the Supreme Court. What? GOP members of the Senate Judiciary Committee on Monday denounced Democratic conduct during Justice Brett Kavanaugh's bitter confirmation and harkened back to prior Republican nominees who faced stiff opposition from Democrats. So they've just decided that, that's kind of what Ted Cruz was doing there. You can follow up on that one yourself. Now, this is interesting. This is Biden's New World Order comment that we just talked about. Significant opportunity at current events. There's going to be a new world order out there. We already talked about it, so maybe I'll just skip this because I'm trying to get caught up in some other things. But if you want to get more on, is this it? Did they do what I think they did? Yep, they caught it right at the time.
I think, my mother had an expression. Out of everything terrible, something good will come if you look hard enough for it.
Hey, now, wait a minute. What does that sound like? What does that sound like? Who is that guy? He was the chief of staff for President Obama. Rahm Emanuel? The opportunity in a crisis? This sounds like that, doesn't it?
I think this presents us with some significant opportunities to make some real changes. You know, we are at an inflection point, I believe, in the world economy. Not just the world economy, in the world. It occurs every 3 or 4 generations. As one of the top military people said to me in a secure meeting the other day, 60 million people died between 1900 and 1946. And since then, we established a liberal world order, and that hadn't happened in a long while. A lot of people dying, but nowhere near the chaos. And now is a time when things are shifting. There's gonna be a new world order out there, and we've got to lead it. We've got to unite the rest of the free world in doing it.
If I was thinking of Putin talking points, that might show up in a in a list of concerns. Holy shit. Anyway, good boy. Anyway, let's just go through a list of things now. The economy, well, this is the University of Michigan consumer confidence is down. Imagine that. The University of Michigan's consumer sentiment for the U.S. fell to 59.7% in March of 2022 from 62.8%, so down 3 points since February, below market forecasts. But the market, they forecast 61, so they thought it was going to even be worse. Preliminary estimates showed that it's the lowest reading since November of 2011, as inflation expectations rose sharply due to a surge in fuel prices. I think that meant exacerbated, not exuberated. But anyway, exacerbated by the Russian invasion of Ukraine, the current economic condition index. Anyway, so this is consumer confidence. That's a trend right there. That would be called a trend in consumer confidence. Apparently in April of 2021, it was as high as 88 because everyone thought, oh, the old grandpa guy that's going to make everyone more nice to each other and make everything better in the world is going to be great. And everyone's all had this 88%, and things were opening up to consumer confidence. Now the trend is, that's the trend of consumer confidence. Of course, this is one of those graphs where they start it at about 55, so it makes it even looks worse, but still, that's a trend in consumer confidence. That can't be good. And also, the U.S. economy slowed in February, according to the Chicago Fed. Oh, now how many quarters of slowing economy do you have to have for a recession? Anyway, U.S. economic activity expanded at a slower rate in February, and January's expansion was slower than reported earlier. Oh, that's the expansion was slower. This is not a retraction, so. That's not a recession. Recession has to be negative economic growth, I think, maybe it is a slow. Anyway, the economy slowed, period. You can read that yourself. Fed chair says aggressive rate hikes may be needed to curb inflation. If you haven't noted that, they already said they're going to raise the Fed rate a little bit. And I could go into detail on how that works, but I'm not going to. The U.S. Central Bank must move expeditiously to bring too high inflation to a heel, Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell said on Monday, and will, if needed, use bigger than usual interest rate hikes to do so. Usually they do small incremental changes in the Fed rate, and he's saying bigger than usual increases. So like when I was in this business, you'd see like an 1/8 of a point change in Fed rates, maybe at most a 1/4 of a point. They might decide to be more aggressive. Now, what that means to you, if you have any variable rate loans that are on the variable end, that can cause you some consternation because your payments will be higher. Now, the reason that it slows borrowing, though, it brings borrowing costs to a level where they'd actually start biting into growth, and that would somehow, apparently that's a way to monitor inflation. That's a very simplistic and confusing way to put it. But anyway, now the question's been asked, though, are you better off than a year ago? By a 4-1 margin, Americans say no, according to Issues Insights TIPP poll. The question is, are you better off today under President Joe Biden than you were a year earlier? Are you financially prepared for a downturn in the economy or a job loss? The March I&I TIPP poll suggests most Americans would answer no to both of these questions. The poll asked, generally speaking, is your family better off today than it was 1 year ago, worse off today than 1 year ago, or about the same as it was 1 year ago? Fewer than 20% said they were better off, while more than twice that number, 42%, said they were worse off. Another 36% said they were about the same. Taken as a whole, that means 78% of Americans had seen no progress or improvement at all in their financial and economic lives since Biden took office. So that kind of coincides with consumer confidence. Let's move on. 2 Wisconsin gas stations are suing a grocery store chain for having cheaper prices. Oh my God. That's weird. But anyway, 2 gas stations in Waukesha, Wisconsin. Waukesha. I know Waukesha. Anyway, are suing a competitor for selling cheaper gas, WISN 12 reported. The companies operating Shell and BP gas stations are using Woodman's local grocery store, or suing Woodman's local grocery store chain for $80,000 in damages each, according to court documents. WISN 12 reported they are claiming that Woodman is violating Wisconsin Unfair Sales Act by illegally outpricing them and selling goods at below cost. Interesting. Let's see. Gas too low. This can literally happen only in Wisconsin. 2 stations are suing each other for their gas pricing being too low. Wisconsin's Unfair Sales Act. Anyway, Woodman argues an exemption in the Unfair Sales Act required them to inform the Wisconsin Department of Agriculture, Trade, and Consumer Protection of the price decrease, enabling them to match another competitor's price, according to WISN 12. Woodman argues that it can sell at lower prices than Shell and BP stations to compete with the Costco loaded 6.5 miles away. Woodman's legal team said in a statement, Woodman is in full compliance with its Waukesha store gas pricing and believes this lawsuit is out without merit. So apparently, you can sue another gas station for selling their gas too low a price. Moving on, the SEC, not the Southeastern Conference, but the Securities and Exchange Commission, unveils sweeping climate requirements for public companies. Now, this is certainly an end around politics and the law. The U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission proposed rules Monday that would force companies to publicly disclose a wide range of climate-related information. I'm pleased to support today's proposal because if adopted, it would provide investors with a consistent, comparable, and decision-useful information for making their investment decision. Bullshit. This is an end-around regulation trying to control companies and their climate compliant actions. So the U.S. they proposed rules that would force companies to publicly disclose a wide range of climate-related information. The nation's top financial regulator would require publicly traded companies to disclose how, quote, severe weather events and other natural conditions, end quote, may impact their business. Under the proposed rules, according to the Monday announcement, companies would also be forced to publish the greenhouse gas emissions produced from their operations. Yes, I'm sure every company in America keeps track of what greenhouse gas emissions are produced by their company. Today's proposal will help. So they're saying that today's proposals would help issuers more efficiently and effectively disclose these risks and meet investor demand. No, it's not. This is government regulation run amok. Anyway, that's crazy. Let's see. Dear Leach, chasing 100% clean energy. Oh, you're ignorant. This is a great article. I'm not going to go through it, but this, if you want to, it'll be in the tabs. Just talking about how this clean energy boondoggle, the idea that you're going to have 100% clean energy because you're going to have wind and solar and electric this and electric that, which requires batteries. And oh, by the way, did you hear that there's a great deal of the minerals and battery or materials needed to produce a lot of these batteries are mined in China and Russia. Did you know that?
China is asshole.
Yes, we did know that. Anyway, I'm not gonna. It'll be in the tabs. Oh, this guy. Some of these January 6th trials are coming up too. And this guy, there's a good article on about this guy, Brady Knowlton, who says that an officer at the Capitol told him you could go in as long as you don't break anything. At 2:35 p.m., Knowlton did, entering through the Upper West Terrace doors. He looked around inside the building, walked around the Rotunda lobby and Senate Chamber gallery, obeyed the officer's injunction not to break anything, and left the building at 2:53. So he went in at 2:35, left the building at 2:53. He was let in by an officer who said, make sure you don't break anything. And for that, now he faces 20 years in prison in Joe Biden's vengeful banana republic. On top of the possibility of being behind bars until 2042, Knowlton, a law student, has suffered numerous other consequences already. According to Daily Wire, his law degree has been withheld. His lawyer says Airbnb has banned him and his wife, and for reasons that remain undisclosed, the U.S. Customs and Border Protection has stripped his global entry access, meaning he can't leave the country or come back. According to the charges filed against him in U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia, Knowlton, quote, did unlawfully and knowingly enter and remain in a restricted building and grounds. Oh, you know, that charge, by the way, is incorrect, because that's a charge. That is what happens is when the president or vice president is in the building. And the president wasn't in the building, and the president-elect Kamala Harris, who is covered in that, that law, she was at the DNC that day, because now that we know that she was there, and they've been using that charge for a lot of these people, saying that it was a restricted building. No, it wasn't. Imagine that. Anyway. He also, quote, did knowingly and with intent to impede and disrupt the orderly conduct of government business and official functions, engage in disorderly and disruptive conduct in and within such proximity to a restricted building and grounds. That is any posted, cordoned off, or an otherwise restricted area within the United States Capitol and its grounds where the vice president and president-elect were temporarily visiting. They were not. He willfully and knowingly engaged in disorderly and disruptive conduct within the United States Capitol. Oh, the vice president was there, wasn't he? Anyway, he willfully and knowingly entered and remained in the gallery of either the House of Congress without authorization to do so. Well, I bet there is video of some of the people that they did let in, which is interesting. Anyway, but so 20 years for him being in the building, 20 minutes. 20 years in prison, possibly. And the judges aren't being all that lenient with these guys. I wonder what Justice Jackson Brown, is that her last name? Did I say that right? Hang on. Did I say that wrong? That's not her name. I was thinking, it's Brown Jackson. I was thinking, running low, running on empty, running low. Not that Jackson Brown, it's Brown Jackson. I will have to remember that. Okay, so I'm out of time here. Oh, by the way, if you see this, and I'm gonna call this one out a little bit. This is a what, a tempest in a teapot. So there's this video out of Boston Mayor Michelle Wu saying she's used to dealing with white problems. There's a little problem with this video, and I think you'll figure it out, and eventually this will get figured out. So she was at this St. Patrick's Day event in front of a union, right? And she said this. Okay, here's what she said. If there's not an ad, there's an ad.
Is changing from a warming climate to rising seas.
Okay, well, how long is this ad? Come on, ad, be done. 21 seconds of ad. Get them. This is digging into my time. All right. Oh my God, there's 2 ads? God, I don't want ads. Okay, just a second. All right, listen to this, and it sounds bad, but listen, and I'll explain why this is kind of a false flag, so to speak.
Good morning, everyone.
Oh, is this the whole damn thing? Oh,
It's
for
great
fuck's
to be
sake!
here
I
with-
don't. Hang on. Here. I just want the part. Here's the part.
Over 100 days, we have connected unhoused residents at Mass and Cass to housing, treatment, and services. We've launched 3 free bus lines. We've taken some big, bold actions, but I won't lie. This past winter was pretty intense. Trial by snow, trial by fire, fighters union. I'm getting used to dealing with problems that are expensive, disruptive, and white. I'm talking about snowflakes. Snowflakes, I mean snowstorm snowflakes.
Okay, now, sounds bad, right? Here's the problem. And yes, it sounds like something that she's saying bad, right? Except for there's one problem. This event is one of those events where you are up there to tell jokes, somewhat at your own expense, kind of like the White House Correspondents' Dinner. It's kind of like, anyway, events like that. Okay, so I think in some ways she was attempting to tell jokes and wasn't making this serious, and you can tell by the fact that, and in fact, they don't have the whole thing going on here. You can listen to the whole thing on this other video in this whatever. But it was an attempt at humor. Now, whether you find it funny, it may well not. Now, but the problem is everyone's saying, well, the Boston First Responders United, one of the groups pushing back against the vaccine mandate, said the mayor's comments displaying her true colors. I am going to give her a limited pass on an attempt to make some humor. And usually in these kinds of things, people tend to make fun of themselves, not make fun of other things. She's been accused more than once of race baiting. I'm going to assume that the people laughing in the background understood the joke at the time. So take it with a grain of salt. Take it with the tradition of the event, and this may well be a tempest in a teapot, even if it may reflect some other views. But remember, the firefighters unions in the Boston area, I'm pretty sure there's some black people in the firefighters union, and maybe some Asian people in firefighters union, and maybe some Latino people in firefighters. I'm pretty sure the entire firefighters union isn't just white people. But anyway, so take it as a joke and put it in that context, then there's some humor to it. There you go. All right. And then I've got a whole bunch of other stuff in here, but I'm not getting to it. So check out the tabs when you're done. And at the end of the show, I will have them in all these links that I have. There's a lot of good stuff in here, including the Babylon Bee's Twitter resistance. Apparently the Babylon Bee got back on Twitter, but they got in trouble for saying that, calling the, what's that health secretary that the trans person, they said that they were man of the year, and as a joke, and well, because who was it that made that person woman of the year, like one of 12 women of the year, I think USA Today, because that's how it goes. Other articles talking about there's a whole bunch of stuff on Hunter Biden. We'll get on that stuff tomorrow. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I gotta go. Thank you so much for joining me today on the Morning Night Live. If you haven't already hit the like button or shared this, please do that now. Or share, you can do it 24 hours a day, anytime on any stream. As far as sponsors today, thank you, Maddie, for being the sponsor of the day. You are awesome. And if you want to sponsor the show, either through monetary ways or others, the monetary ways you can find in the description. Other ways, though, are share the stream. Project 10,000 starts a week from Friday, and we'll work on that. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I am so glad that you were here. I'm so glad I was here. And hopefully you'll see us tomorrow, 10 o'clock Eastern, 9 o'clock Central, Monday through Friday on the Morning Night Live. Again, thank you. My name is Dawg Knight, and I'm out of here. Bye-bye. Hey, this is Dawg Knight, and thank you for watching today on the Dawg Knight Channel. If you have an observation or remark you'd like to make about this video or my channel, I absolutely welcome you to write it in the comment section down below. I really look forward to hearing from you. And before you go, if you like what you saw but you're not already subscribed, please make sure you hit the subscribe button and definitely click that bell that pops up afterwards so you'll be notified when I post new videos or when we go live. I broadcast my live show, The Morning Night Live, Monday through Friday at 10 o'clock Eastern, 9 o'clock Central. A special thank you to all the supporters of this channel who share our videos on social media and who make donations through Streamlabs, YouTube, Venmo, and Cashapp, which are all linked in the description down below. Thanks again, and until next time, I'm Dawg Knight, and I'm out of here.